How's it going, everybody? Tomo Chef here. As you can see, I still halfway have my mask on. I'm in the back of the office at the gym, and it's hard to do lives with this. What's up, Zion? What's up, Whitney? So yeah, man, I want to get on here and talk about a couple of things. What's up, Allison? Faith, what's up? Something that I discussed earlier on my live, but I wanted to talk more in depth about tonight. And it may sound silly in the beginning. What's up, Jocelyn? What's up, Veronica? But rock with your boy and just follow me to the end. I am going somewhere with this. It may seem silly in the beginning, but just rock with me, okay? Eric Inc., what's up? So essentially what I want to talk tonight about, is about a show I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with, and if you never watched, I'm sure you've heard of it, which would be Scooby-Doo, okay? I love Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is my mother's favorite show, so growing up, we always watched it. And as I grew older, I grew to love it as well. So I have a tradition for most Halloweens. What I do is I don't really do anything, I don't go out, but what I do is I just stay in the house and I'll just watch Scooby-Doo all night. What's up, Jalacia? I'll watch Scooby-Doo all night as long as I can. I love me some Scooby-Doo. And this Halloween, I did the same. Nothing crazy. I worked, came home, watched Scooby-Doo. I even watched some Scooby-Doo with my son, which was cool. But when I was watching this year, the Scooby-Doo felt different to me. When I was watching it, it spoke to me differently. It hit me differently. And when I was watching the Scooby-Doo, I realized that Scooby-Doo, the episodes on Scooby-Doo, or the premise of Scooby-Doo, is the same as life, right? It's the same exact thing as life, right? And you ask yourself, like, how is Scooby-Doo and life the same, right? If you know anything about the show, Scooby-Doo, what happens, they go from town to town and they solve mysteries. For about, I would say, the first 10 to 15 minutes of every episode, they go to a town or a new place, and it's this monster that's chasing them around, scaring everybody in town, and it even scares Scooby-Doo and the gang or Mystery Inc. all the way around. How's it going, Isabella? Scares them, and they're running from it. And then what happens by the end of the show, they've realized that the monster is not real. It's just some crook or something fake that they, at the end, unmask, and then they say, I would have got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids, right? What I realized while watching the show this year is that in life, we have these things that are quote unquote scary to us. And we spend so much time running away from it and avoiding it, and we continue to do so. If we ever took the time to actually solve the mystery, if we ever took the time to unmask the fear that we have with that thing that we're afraid of, we would realize that it's not scary at all. That it's just, it's a regular thing that if we take the time to actually deal with, it's not that bad. And what happens is, and it's funny to me, and I know this is a cartoon, it's so wild to me, that they unmask someone every episode, and then the next episode, they're back to being scared of a fake monster again. We do that every day in our lives, right? We conquer a skill, right? We conquer a skill, and then the next skill is scary. You come in. You conquer a skill, and then the next skill is scary. And then you conquer that skill, and the next skill is scary. As opposed to realizing that the monsters aren't real, that we ourselves are the monster, not the skills that we're afraid of, right? One of the things that happens or should happen as you get older is as you grow into an adult, you realize that there is no monster under the bed, right? You created that monster, right? And once you take that monster down, or you bring that monster down to whatever its real thing is, or whatever it is in your head, you realize that you gave power to that monster. And if you can give power to that monster, you can take away that power as well, right? So in life, instead of us avoiding the fake monsters that we come in contact with, our job is to understand what that monster represents. And after we understand it, it gives us the ability to unmask that monster. Therefore, that monster no longer has power over what we do with our lives. And that is what I got from watching Scooby-Doo. Now, I know that is a whole lot to, to unpack. Like why would this dude watch Scooby Doo and get that from Scooby Doo? Like I say on here often, man, motivation is temporary. So for me, I'm always looking for something that's going to give me an edge, always going to give me something that's going to force me to get out of bed. And I believe that motivation happens, it comes from the strangest of places if you're looking for it, right? For me, I'm always seeking answers. I always want to know more. But when I was watching Scooby Doo, I'm like, they know that these monsters are just men. They are not real. And if they didn't know the first time, they had to know by the fifth episode of the season, right? We know we've gone over through this countless times, right? We know that starting our next venture or part of our lives is going to be scary, right? But it's not too much for us to handle because we handled the last thing we did, right? We knew that we know that every time you do a new skill, you were scared to do your back handspring. You were scared to do your tuck. You were scared to do your layout. You were scared to do your full. Why would your double full be any different? Your job is to realize that the monsters aren't real. Unmask them. And I'm not saying they aren't scary. That's different, right? Because before you understand that monster, before that Scooby-Doo and the gang understand what the monster is, it's terrifying because you're like, is this monster real? But when you have experience in the field and you realize that I've unmasked so many different things and so many different false monsters, I know that I can take care of this because they're not real. I have the ability to unmask these things. I just have to tap into it. I believe that there's messages everywhere. They're everywhere if you're looking for messages. You just have to be looking. It says, wow, crazy timing. I finally got my full and I wanted to move to doubles and this just helped me mentally. Appreciate, man. It's all good, man. That's what this is about. We just helping each other. But I do believe that if you're looking for the message, I think it's like almost like church, right? Faith, I appreciate it, man. That made me feel good, man. Made me feel like a good coach. But I remember going to church when I used to be younger, and I felt like I would get into church and the pastor would be speaking directly to me, like directly to me, right? And I'm like, why is he talking to me? I believe that the motivation and the messages in the world that we are living in is the same thing. Is that Brazil? Shout out to Brazil. It's the same thing, right? Messages are speaking to us, but I believe that what we're doing is we're like blocking those messages. We're blocking those blessings because the thought of those things scare us, or they're not what makes us comfortable, or they're not what we were looking for. Sometimes in order to get the thing that you were looking for, you have to go through something else to prepare you for that thing. Does that make sense? And I think that's pretty much it. I think at the end of the day, there's so much to be said. Like, I love cartoons. And when I was watching Scooby-Doo, I was like, man, how can they continue? Oh, you're welcome, Chloe. Keep at it, man. Good things will happen. But I do think that it's crazy to me that you sit here and you're like, okay, I know that this thing is just like the last thing because the skills may get more difficult, but I'm getting stronger as they get more difficult. Therefore, I'm up for the task, right? What we do is we build these, and I don't want to, they're essentially excuses. We build these boundaries for us to prevent us from moving forward. Like, I posted a video today, I believe, of my girls doing open standing tucks. And one of the people who commented on it said, well, I pull for my life in standing tucks on dead mat on spring floor, much more doable. That to me is a boundary because there shouldn't be any difference, right? That is a difference. That is an obstacle or something we created or we told ourselves that we should struggle with. If I'm on dead mat, I shouldn't be able to do the same skills that I do on spring floor. It may be more difficult, but that doesn't mean that should not be done, right? Or tumbling on dead floor isn't as easy or isn't as simple. And the last thing I'll say before I get off here and let you guys get back to your night, I was listening to I was watching this thing on TikTok. And by the way, I know TikTok gets a lot of flack for being a young person's whatever, and people talking about it too old. There's a lot of good information on TikTok. Not all of it. Some of it's terrible, but there is a lot of good on TikTok if you use it correctly. Yeah, see, Chloe, everybody's different. And essentially what happens, I watched this thing, and there's a reporter talking to a man in a movie. And she essentially asked the man, what was the biggest lie that you've been told? And he said, it's not that simple. And she said, why not? He said, no, the biggest lie that I've ever been told is that it's not that simple. And she was like, She's like, what part? He said, all of it, everything. He said that what happens is in our lives, we are all told that it's not that simple over and over and over and over and over and over and over, as if us becoming our best or maxed out self is so difficult that we give up in hopes of trying to become the best version of ourselves. And then he responded with, and she said, so what is the truth? He said, the truth is that it is that simple. All that we have to do is go out there and do that thing they said that we couldn't, and then it's done. And then you realize that it's always been that simple. The reality of the situation is somebody's going to tell you, or you may even believe that, oh, I could never be a world's athlete, or I could never be on that team, or I could never have that skill. And the reality of the situation is you're wrong. And you're right at the same time. The reality of the situation is you have to believe that it's possible, right? You have to do the thing they said that you couldn't do. Some of us right now are listening to this like, man, I want to be on that team, but I can't do that. There's no way I could do that. I can't do that, fool. I can't start that business. I can't coach that team. I can't make that team. And the reality of the situation is that you can. Right now, you're choosing not to. I listened to that man say that so many times. I'm like, it is that simple. And what I don't want you to do is confuse the word simple with easy. I never said it was easy. I said it was simple. What you have to do is realize that it's simple. And the simple thing about it is embracing the difficulty. You embrace the hard work. You embrace the difficulty of achieving that thing. And then everything else becomes simple because you're willing to do whatever it takes to make that simple thing happen. You're willing to do whatever it takes to make that difficult thing happen. And then your work becomes easier. It's not overbearing work because you know that it's all a part of the process. But what we have to do is we have to get out of our heads that somehow that it's not that simple. Or that it's out of our range, it's out of our reach. It's not. You just have to accept that it's not. Faith Woods, you are absolutely welcome. You can do this. We can do this, right? We can do this, but we have to get out there and we have to unmask those fake monsters. They are just men. They are just men. And on the show, I don't think there's many women actually, but they're just men and women. They're fake monsters trying to scare us out of our blessings, trying to scare us out of our destiny. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. Your job is to go out there and find out whether or not you can or not. Don't take anybody else's word for it. And I know that's easier said than done, but we're not talking about easy here. We're talking about simple. Be willing to do the hard things so that the life that you want to live becomes possible. And watch Scooby-Doo. It's awesome. It's awesome. And I hope that what I said makes sense. You are welcome, Tink. I hope that what I said makes sense. I hope I didn't spoil Scooby-Doo for you if you watch it and you like it. But I know that right now you got elections and all this thing. It's a lot going on in the world right now. And it can be overwhelming at times. But what I will say to you is that no matter what happens today and tomorrow, we still are going to have to be responsible for our own individual lives and the choices that we make and the strength that we are allowed to make happen or allowed to be inside of us and tap into is what's going to pull us through. And that's pretty much it, man. I hope that, like I said, I hope y'all have a good night, man. I appreciate y'all listening in on this. Brooke, he said, can you help talk me out of my mental block? What are you mental on, Brooke? I would love to know. I mean, I appreciate the support, appreciate the love, man. I was on here earlier with Tumble Doctor. We did our live earlier. Yeah, man, if you guys don't already follow, please go follow me and Tumble Doctor's page, on Instagram page together. It is Doc and Chef, DOCNCHEF. And if you don't already follow me on TikTok, please do. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. Trying to make moves. But yeah, man, it's I know it's hard for y'all out there. I know it's hard for y'all out there. But I'm telling y'all right now, man, once y'all start really getting into that part where you guys are figuring out the mysteries, figuring out what's actually out there trying to tell you to stop and scare you away from your destiny, they become way less scary. But the only way you can do that is if you confront that fear. If you are face to face with that fear, you gotta look that fear in the face, man. Let them know you're not going anywhere. Round off 2 back handsprings and cartwheel back handsprings. Oh, you're afraid of connections. That makes sense. Okay, I got you. Cool. All right, how's it going, Evelyn? Yep. Yeah, man, there's a lot going on out here, but I do believe that. Oh, I appreciate that. But I do believe that we all will be okay, and it's not always going to be the way we want it to be. But I do know that it's not supposed to be, right? Because if things were always great, then we wouldn't even appreciate them. If that makes sense to everybody. Yeah, and we don't want to be in that situation, man. So yeah, get out there, unmask those fake monsters. Oh, awesome. Glad to hear that. Unmask those fake monsters and get out there and let them know, man, you're not going to scare me out of my destiny. I got things that I want to do, and I'm going to get those things done, man. And I think that allows you to take your power back from those who seek to steal it. Because one thing I do know is what people will do, and I think the world that we live in, if people realize that you're powerful, what they'll do is they'll do whatever they possibly can to make sure you never find that out. Because they know the moment that you find out how powerful you are, they can no longer control what you do. They can no longer keep you in, because when most people want you to be by them. They want you to stay with them because they themselves were afraid to make that move to come out. What you should do is always be applying pressure, not only to yourself, but to them. I'm leaving. I'm becoming whatever it is I want to be in this world. I would suggest you do the same, or our relationship then becomes long distance. But the only way that you will be able to do that is if you first get out there and unmask those monsters. They aren't real. You give them the power, which means you can take them away. Oh, it'd be like that, Faith. It'd definitely be like that, man. But that's pretty much it for me tonight, man. I appreciate you, like I said before. I just want to get on and get that out into the world. I'm not sure who needed to hear that or who will benefit from what I said. But I do hope that somebody will take this, and I get messages all the time like, hey, I watched your live. You helped me get through this and help you get through that. I'm hoping that the words that I say and the things that I'm putting up on my page is inspiring people to be better. And this, to me, is bigger than tumbling. It's bigger than all the things that I'm doing. I believe that these are life lessons. And I really believe that I don't even ask athletes to, get over, do your mental block or deal with it just because it helps them in their routines. I know that you understanding your brain to get it to go when you're afraid will allow you to deal with fear in life. And fear is always present. Fear is everywhere. So if you can learn how to deal with your fear in a tumbling scenario, when you're afraid to start that business, you know how to push past it. When you're afraid to make that life-changing decision, you'll already have trained your brain to move forward while being afraid. And that's what it's all about for me. I appreciate that, Beans. Hope you guys have a good night. Peace.